Hey guys, I just thought of a good example of how we do ultimately dominate the relationship with organic portals. Oh, I thought of a good example. What is it? What is my example? Right, so this is video 2 on do we ultimately dominate the relationship with organic portals? And in video 1 I concluded, yeah, I think so. I gave some reasons, but here's an example, because I was thinking, oh, well, you didn't even give any real, I gave broad, like higher philosophy examples, but here I'll bring it down to earth. An example of how we dominate the relationship with OPs, organic portals, soulless humans, blah, blah, blah. Matrix props, you have to understand what I'm talking about. I'm not going to go into that every video, because there's plenty of videos about explaining what organic portals are like, and even on my channel. So I think we do, and here's an example. Cannabis. They've legalized it. Do you see what I mean? And I've heard they've even legalized magic mushrooms in a few states in America. So we're on the way. Do you see what I mean? Well, that was an ultimate thing. Cutting off psychedelics, their vision plans. Mind altering, mind expanding, yeah, they've been called. So ultimately, I thought, an example is cannabis, and it's perfect because we didn't stop. The soul humans would have even went through death penalty, right? I'm sure there's some of you out there listening going, oh yeah, damn right, Ben. I probably would have been one of these people too. I would have moved in the bush, not eaten food if it came to it. Like if the world was even, that 20% more crazy than it is, and they had the death penalty, I would have even done it for that, I think. No shit. And I know there's other people that, would hold that view. They would have been like, they would never ever have stopped me. That's kind of how I am with it. And with other things, freedom of speech, for instance, is another great example, right? Freedom of speech will make it in the end. They're going to keep trying to cut it off, and it'll be realized to be as stupid as it is, because we'll all get dumber for it, and we'll realize that very quickly. Oh, I can't use this word. Well, then how can I explain so-and-so, We'll realize that very quickly. I think this freedom of speech thing is going to be, a real quick battle. It's not like forever, in a way. But look, cannabis, back to the example of cannabis. Think about it. For instance, in Australia, I know, I grew up in Australia, in the East Coast, Sunshine Coast, Australia, when I was, I think, 20-something, 24 or something, I moved to Gold Coast. I've been to Holland when I was younger and around the world, but, I mainly grew up at Sunshine Coast. And it's interesting, most people my age there on the coast smoked it. Most people. Like all the boys at school, when I was at high school, we all, even if they weren't, part of like what you might consider the cool group or something, or even like, I don't know, the surfers, the skaters, blah, blah, blah. Even some of the nerds would have a go. It's not like they would do it as much. Do you know what I mean? Like I wasn't really a nerd at school. I know I'm much more nerdy now. But do you know what I mean? Like everybody did it. Everybody dabbled. And it's like said that 60% of people, do it regularly. I think that was in the census. In Australia, they have, I don't know how often they send it around, like every 7 years or something, I can't remember. But there's a census and people fill it out, and you divulge things about your life, what car you drive, how much you earn, did you take drugs or something, And I think even from that, they found out like 60% of people one year, I can't remember what year, I'm sorry, I'm not citing fantastic citations, but I think you all agree that so many people do it, right, that we didn't give up, and now they legalized it. So I don't know about the percentages, 60, 70%, 50%, I don't know, but it seems to me, and I'm pretty sure it was in a census, that it came out of a census that like 60% of Australians were smoking cannabis, marijuana anyway. And, it's not legal there yet. They're trying to legalize medical marijuana. So, we're behind the 8 ball. I mean, we're behind the ball, so to speak. We're not up with the times in Australia even, which is embarrassing. Because here in Uruguay, they've even got, legal weed. But look, my point is that, most people have dabbled, right? I've seen all sorts of people from all walks of life, like businessman, nerd, girls, women, mums, teenagers, like all ages, all creeds, all cultures, right? So I've seen Middle Eastern people on the bong, in the bong room, you know what I mean? Like black, white, Asian, whatever. So my point is that there were so many of us, and we pushed with our what? Our spirit, didn't we? We said, no, we're going to do it because we want to. Some people said, I'm going to do it because I need to. Some people were out there like using it as a medicine, going, no, I need to do it. I don't care. You can throw me in jail, you can catch me, but I'm going to do it. I know even people that went to jail for it, and then, they got caught with a little bit, get in trouble, get caught again after like 3 times they're going in. So I've known people who've come out from jail and they'll do it again. It's like we didn't stop. And the system and all those, organic portal status quo type people realized they're just not going to stop. And this is what I mean. Spirit endures. And in my opinion, it's the organic portal apocalypse, not the apocalypse for just everyone. And, they're placeholders for the physical robots coming that'll be connected to the AI. They're placeholders. Like when you fill out a form and it says, my name is _ and you have to fill in your name, that's a placeholder. So they're like that for the robots, in my opinion, the organic portals. Anyway, so back to the main storyline. Do you see how we pushed through with spirit, right? We said no. No, we're going to do it because we want or we need to. Correct? Now, I think you're all going to agree, right? Press the like button if you realize that is what's happened around the world with psychedelics generally and mainly. And I think the best example out there is cannabis because it's so proliferately used. It's used so much by so many people that it became, realized that it's not that bad. I've gotten worse nights on alcohol. I've ended up in the gutter. When I was younger, I drank a lot of alcohol in Australia. We used to party like twice a weekend, get girls, blah, blah, blah. So, I think, the status quo people, the system protectors, people who are like thinking it's criminal and all that, they realized, look, we're just never going to stop everyone because they have their own houses. Even if the neighbor is looking out for it, is my neighbor doing cannabis? Oh no. You go into a back room, you do it quietly. And so people were still doing it, no matter how many people were watching out for it, how illegal it became. You know what I mean? The consequences didn't matter. At some point, you just go, no, I want to do it. I'm making this decision for me, I'm a minded entity, right? And I think that's what's happened. Don't you agree that this is a perfect example of how we ultimately dominate the relationship with organic portals? But you have to push. You see, we didn't do it, lying down. We had to stand up and stand for our rights, so to speak, You had to stand for, hey, I'm an individual, I want to do this. And even people, fought about the medical nature of it and against medical marijuana. Like, that's what they would go to court with. I need it for my certain illness. I have epileptic fits or blah, 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 People fought in all directions for this, from all walks of life, that I think the system people, the organic portal props of the matrix, they realize we're just not going to stop this. There's too much spirit behind it, and we did it with soul. We didn't, just come crashing in with guns. We did it with soul. So it's like it took it back to the basic level of like human nature. So that's why I think they realized, all right, we better just legalize this. We're just piling up people in prisons, even though they make money from prison systems. We're not going to turn all of society into a prison, but that's basically the last move here. At the end of history here, they are making, internment camps. Like, have you seen what's happening in China? It's all secret and stuff. The re-education camps and all that. They are going that way. The history ends in ridiculousness. I've said this before, the money system will end in ridiculousness, universal basic income and helicopter money ideas. Helicopter money, just throw money around. that just makes it seem even more worthless. So they're undermining their own system. So I do think we ultimately dominate them. You see that? Because it's so ridiculous, it has to go to the ridiculous heights. That's what I mean by the system is self-systemically flawed, because it's all like based on these really flawed soulless aspects, and we're not like that. We aren't robots. We're not all going to get in line, and you do have to step out of line. It's not left wing or right wing. I'm a liberal or a Labour or anything like this. When you're woke, you're knowing, no wing. You know, what if I told you the left and the right wing are both wings of the same bird? I'm talking politically. That's one, I think, picturing consciousazine.net off the political page. But look, my point is that we pushed through with spirit, didn't we? In the end, we pushed through. Now they're legalizing cannabis all over the world. Right, not yet. Okay, it's not legal everywhere yet. But is it not acceptable? Like, you don't look down, most people don't look down at people who use cannabis as bad as they did 10 or 20 years ago, because even scientists came out and backed it up. They said, hold on, we have something in our body called the endocannabinoid system. Cannabis, endocannabinoid. Cannabis, endocannabinoid. I love saying that. Sorry to mock you. But you know what I mean? Like, even the scientists came in, like, there's all walks of life, all cultures, all creeds. Everybody knew everybody was doing it. So my point is, if we're going to fix the world, and this is a massive point, this is where it all ends, my friends. If we're going to fix this place, we all have to care about the earth. We all have to realize we are the children of earth, and we all have to have magnus opus focus. Now, that doesn't mean just great work. It means expansion of consciousness, magnus opus as well. Opals of the soul, opuses, opals of the soul. I'll tell you about my vision one time. I saw like little opals and they unfold. It's like a highly compressed format. We'll talk about that one day. So my point is that we pushed through with cannabis, and I thought that's the perfect example. Because we pushed through. It is now legalized in many places. It is more acceptable now. Like in Uruguay, you know, say here in this camping ground, they gang stalk the crap out of me in this camping ground here. You're going to see like 30, 40 videos on it. But my point is that, you know, 10 years ago, if I came to Uruguay here and I was smoking weed, it would have been highly illegal. Most likely I would have got in trouble, you know, and they would have had a reason to kick me out. But, you know, so as reality goes on, we're going to loosen it with spirit. We're loosening the system, right? So it is a natural process. People who say, oh, the system, it won't just all take care of itself. Actually, it will. That is how the universe actually works, step by step. So it will all take care of itself, literally. Everything works through. So anyway, back to the main argument. Do we ultimately dominate the relationship with organic portals? Well, I thought cannabis was a perfect example, because it used to be highly frowned upon. Yes, some people still frown upon it, but have you noticed who they are? Have a look who they are. You tell me, do you think they're the organic portals? Look next time in your life. Smoke cannabis near someone. I already made the video, Organic Portals Hate Cannabis Smoke, because it's like smudging. It's a thick smoke, like a smudging sage. It gets rid of demonic bad vibrations on people. Lower vibrations, abhorrent vibrations. It's smudging. It's exactly like sage. Trust me. Start using cannabis and check it out if you don't. It's like sage. And it's like sage for your own mind. And, you know, we all realize, yeah, you know, there's so many benefits of cannabis. It's medical in this way. It's medical in that way. It keeps me sane, blah, blah, blah. I need it for my epilepsy, blah, 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 you know. So people came from all walks of life, but notice what these people were. They were all pushing with spirited action. They're all saying, no, I'm my own spirit. I don't care what you and your conglomerate government controlling system says. I'm going to do it. We're going to do it in the back alleys. We're going to do it in the bush at the beach. We're going to do it in the back room at the party. You know what I mean? We did it everywhere. And so now, you know, and people said, even if we go to jail, we're going to do it. And that, you know, cannabis smokers piled up in the jails, in the prison cells. And they went, well, you know, this is unsustainable. We can't just turn this earth into all prisons. You know, I think they realized for themselves how ridiculous they are. The penal system's ridiculous. It's not the way to teach people. I get it, you're putting them in there to calm down. Even solitary confinement and stuff is like meditation, but it's too harsh. It's too harsh too quickly. There's a lot of problems, too many people too close creates problems, etc. Anyway, we'll talk about that too one day, the penal system, prison system. So what I'm saying is that, I think we ultimately dominate the relationship with them because we are the conscious ones and because we do push forward. Like I said in video 1, we are the conscious positive soul vectors. We're the vectors in the entropical field. They're like the atrophy. They're the stabilization function. They don't push forward for the universe. They want to slow it down, stop it, and maintain their control. And, it's the end of human culture. And in human culture, people built it up via neurotic nuclear family models like kings and queens. We had incest. How stupid were they? They're not models for genius people, these kings and queens. They did incest. We figured out that's stupid. Check it out if you don't understand why. I'm not going to go into it. But my point is, it does appear ultimately, the word ultimately is being used. Ultimately, we do dominate the relationship, even though it doesn't appear like it day to day maybe. We are pushing forward, you see. So we do dominate the relationship. We are collective conscious creation, they're collective unconscious creation. And I thought cannabis is the perfect example because you all know it. Everybody knows cannabis. Who doesn't know cannabis? It's like, who doesn't know Coca-Cola? I'm here in Uruguay on the other side of the world. Yeah, sure, it's under America, but it's not America, it's South America, and there's Coca-Cola everywhere, right? Do you see what I mean? Cannabis is all around the world. Cannabis is, all countries, probably there's someone in each country in the world, at least one person. No, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of people in most countries in the world who are aware of cannabis. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who doesn't know the cannabis plant. I mean, it's been made famous because we act funny on it. So I don't know, if you see a video of someone on cannabis, you go, oh, what's this plant? So people have been made really aware of it, and then we pushed through. So that's how I think we ultimately dominate the relationship. We make them more aware, and then we push through. And it's always like that. So I have to conclude yet again that we do dominate the relationship with the organic portal, and I think cannabis is the perfect example. Because I remember 10 years ago, I don't know, you might be a young kid and you don't remember this because you weren't born yet. But I remember 10 years ago, I remember 20 years ago. I'm 30. What am I now, like 34 or something? But I'm 35 this year, I think. But, I remember 10 or 20 years ago, 15 years ago, it was much more, frowned upon to smoke cannabis than it is now. Still people look at you weird in the streets because still obviously not everybody has smoked it and they don't get it. Maybe they should try and invest 5 minutes on one joint or take one bong hit, water pipe hit. Just try it once. I mean, some people just think it's some path to the dark side, but it's literally been scientifically proven. It gives neurogenesis. Cannabis creates brain cells. Because you think more. I do. As soon as the static comes off me, I think more and I connect to nature, and then you get the flow of the universe through you because you're literally connected to everything that is. So, I mean, I thought cannabis is the perfect example because it used to be frowned upon and it was illegal. It's like death to the cannabis smoker. In the 1920s, they came out with the propaganda, devil's weed and all this. But in the end, it's starting to be legalized. So we made it, we did it, we pushed through. We smoked it in the back rooms. We smoked it in front of their face. We smoked it at work, on the break, in the bathroom. Hey, the boss comes in, hey, have you been smoking weed? I can smell something, So ultimately, all cultures, creeds, all types of people push through with spirit. So I do think, and, spirit, dominates matter. We have placebo studies, mind over matter. Do you understand the placebo effect? It's mind over matter. People get given sugar pills, told it's, acid and start tripping out. It's just sugar. You know what I mean? So the mind is very strong, and I think we do ultimately dominate the relationship with organic portals, and we push through with spirit, because we're the spirited humans.